Hello, back again. I'm on page 4 of the book Discourse and Pragmatics. I was in the middle of my lecture when I found that it is going to be long enough. Okay, so I'm going to have another another example of context which is out there. Page 4, the last paragraph, actually before the poem, says something like this. Let us take a look at take an example from a written language. The previous examples were spoken, but this one is a written language, okay? You may be familiar with the English stroll Peter, okay? Because you're not a native speaker, maybe you're not familiar with it. A book from the beginning from the beginning of the 20th century that contains moralistic, humorous tales about naughty children who are punished for their bad behavior. It's a kind of literature, okay? So the next example is taken from this early 20th century example of a moralistic, humorous tale about a naughty children. Let us see. There is one such tale called the story of Augustus who would not have any soup. The name of the person was Augustus, who would not like have any soup. Yes, I don't know the Arabic name, of course. I have heard shorba. This is for a combination of Farsi and Turkey vocabulary in English. Shurba in Farsi is ba in Turkish means ash, and shur means salty. Shurba means a salty type of, in fact, soup. Okay, shorba. I have here in Qom, actually there are places in the street next to the Holy Shrine. When they sell different kinds of soup, and it was something like shurba. I have seen it there actually. Maybe it is lahja, it is not fosha. Anyway, so the child would not like to have soup. Okay, let us see. The tale begins with Augustus as a chubby lad who ate and drank as he was told and never let his soup grow cold. Okay? Then one day he screams, I won't have any soup today. Here's the verse. So again, here you see the context in the form of a humorous tale of a moralistic kind of literature. Okay, I don't want to continue with this kind of thing, so you can read it for yourself, and if you want, you can enjoy this kind of excerpts. Going to page 5. Look, I want to talk about this. Well, line 1 says the poem is meant to be read to a child who can look at the book in front of them. Okay? So if there's something like a book by the children, you sit on the one side and the child sees on the other. Maybe you see the pictures upside down, but the child is on the other side and sees everything in a natural way. Okay, so it's like this. The poem is meant to be read to a child who can look at the book in front of them. Okay, so is it a situation? Do we have a situation here? Do we have a context here? Maybe yes. And we say it's a visible situational context, line 5. It's a visible situational context. If I am right, it is something like بيئة again, and it is context. If I am not mistaken, it is a siyagha, I suppose. I don't know, no idea about it. Okay, so this is type A, the situational context, beginning on page 4, continuing on page 5. Now let us go to page 5, talking about background knowledge context. Okay, background knowledge context. So background knowledge context is something like cultural or ثقافية, if I am right, and interpersonal. I don't know the vocabulary for interpersonal. Maybe بين الاثنين in Farsi, sometimes in the maybe it is used in philosophy, etc. بين الاثنين. Well, it is interpersonal. I don't know, no idea about it, but maybe I am right. Well, what is cultural? General knowledge that most people carry with them in their minds about areas of life, marriage, shopping, their country, etc. Interpersonal. What is interpersonal? Between two guys, two people, between me and you and me, between you and somebody else, it is interpersonal. Inter means between, personal means people, okay? Interpersonal means between two people. Knowledge, specific and possibly private knowledge about the history of the speakers themselves, okay? This is interpersonal. Well, so on page 5, we are going to talk about the cultural, and it is easy for you to understand. I'm not going to, in fact, continue with things like that. Only I want to let you go on line 1, 2, 3, 4. Line 4 says if interlocutors. This vocabulary may be strange, but actually in discourse analysis and pragmatics, they use the word interlocutors. Interlocutors means the two people in the conversation. So in a conversation between two people, there are two interlocutors. Okay, locution means talking. Okay, interlocutors means talking between two people. Okay, or at the end means that they are the subject. Okay, fa'il. Okay, so interlocutors means two people who are talking, are two interlocutors. So this is the vocabulary that maybe you find it strange. Line 4 actually says if interlocutors establish that they are part of the same group, they can assume mutual knowledge. It's easy for you. If I am part of you, if you're part of me, we have mutual knowledge. For example, Iraqis and Iranians are the same as far as they are Shiite, and as far as they love Hussein and Imam Ali, etc., etc. So this is a kind of cultural knowledge between two guys or two groups of people, two countries, etc., etc. That's an example. Okay, I don't want to continue with page 4, 5, but actually if you go to page 5, 6, on top of it, there's something that I want to, in fact, share with you. So maybe you have to go back to page 5, which means these smaller groups may form what Swales 1990 calls discourse communities. What is discourse community? What is discourse community? If they have broadly agreed common public goals, special mechanisms for communication, and they have a special lexis or vocabulary. Okay, So they have discourse communities like this. When they have, for example, doctors have a special kind of vocabulary when they talk. They have got the same type of lexis. Lexis means vocabulary, okay? Lexis means a special lexis or a special vocabulary. Okay, they talk in a similar way. Because they understand each other, because they are talking about diseases, etc. Because they talk about different types of patients, etc. Their understanding is the same. Doctors are the same. They establish a kind of discourse community. And me and you actually establish another discourse community. We are students and teachers, okay? And we understand each other much better, okay? This is like this. So it is part of a bigger culture, okay? Good, good, good. I don't want to continue. There are other things that you can actually continue. An example again, and there's an example back there on, let's say, about the Aaron example. Repeatedly, actually, the book actually comes back to talk about these types of things. For example, part of it is that the next paragraph actually says, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the first paragraph, beginning with going back, says Aaron is portrayed in books as beautiful but cold, rainy, and mosquito ridden. Okay, Aaron is nice. It's like Spain. But the point is that it is cold, number one. Rainy. They don't like rain, okay? Actually, you remember in Iran and Iraq, because we don't have much rain, we love actually rain. But many parts of the world don't like, for example, people from England, Scotland, etc., Wales, etc., because there's so much rain, they don't like rain. So when they say it is rainy, it means that they don't like it. Okay? Cold, rainy, and mosquito-ridden, full of, I don't know, ba'ula, full of mosquitoes. Okay? If I am right, I don't know. Maybe I'm not very good at English, at Arabic, but I actually help you understand. If I am mistaken, just come to tell me if there is something like that. When there's something like mosquito, you can have bites on your skin, okay, and you have to scratch it, okay. So Aaron is good and bad, okay. And in the conversation between the two guys, actually see that the second guy wants to, when you went to Aaron. Come on. It's a kind of, in fact, mocking the second person, but actually he continues to finish it. Going to the next paragraph. Talk assuming shared knowledge of cultural context often shows an assumption of shared attitudes towards that cultural context. So I have got the same type of attitude when I talk to you. You have got the same type of attitude when you're a friend of me talking to me. Okay? The same thing happens in the Aaron example. Okay? What is it? Shared attitude towards that cultural context. Well, this is again another. Going to the next paragraph, there's another thing about culture, the thaqafiyya. Okay, let's see. If you actually go to line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the paragraph in the middle of page 6 and begins with it is culture, line 6, okay, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, line 5. Well, there's a kind of conversation. The mother sends you. You are a son of 10 years of age. It sends you to buy something. Let's see what happens here. Again, you can see part of shared knowledge, part of culture actually out there. So, line 5 says something like this, which is taken from a magazine. Okay, so the name of the magazine is line 1, 2, 3. Line 3 says, there's a cartoon from Punch, the humorous London magazine. Punch is the London magazine which calls Punch, and it is a kind of humorous magazine. Dated 1894. 1894, about 100, maybe 27 years ago. 127 years ago. Okay? That depicts a young girl in a grocer's shop. The young girl goes to the grocer's shop to buy some butter, some oil, some butter. Let us see. And the caption reads, the caption in the cartoon, the written material in the cartoon says something like, half a pound of margarine, please. And mother says, will you put the cow on it because we've got company? It's like this. That the child wants a pound of margarine. Margarine is a kind of butter, but less cheaper. Butter actually is made of, let's say, cow, okay? An animal cow, okay? But the cheaper margarine is made of oil, maybe dehne you say, okay? It is made of oil, vegetable oil, okay? But it is in the form of butter. So it is there and it is less expensive, okay? Margarine is less expensive than butter. Everybody knows. So it's a kind of shared knowledge between all people, okay? So, on a pound of margarine, please. And mother says, will you put the cow on it? Suppose there's something like this jar. Okay? You want to have something like margarine on it. In it. Okay? And the girl asks to have a brand on it, to say something like this. It is butter, not margarine. Let us continue. Because she's got company. You have got company. What does it mean? Guest. ضيافة. أنت مضيف. Okay? So you want to say that you have used butter to your guests, but you don't want actually everybody knows that you are using margarine, not butter. Okay? It is again kind of shared understanding between the girl and the grocers, the man out there, and the mother. It's a kind of cultural knowledge. Okay? Anyway, so it's on the last line, on the last two lines of this part, which says, today we might not find this funny. This 1894 humor reflects a middle class attitude of the time. Okay? That is amusing that the poor try to hide their poverty. You are poor, I am poor, but I don't want to show it to others that I am poor. We want to hide our poverty. Again, it is another shared knowledge or cultural knowledge. Okay? So the poor try to hide their poverty, of course in vain. Well, going to interpersonal. Interpersonal, as easy as that, between two people. It is not shared among a group of people, okay? It's between two people, okay? So line 1, 2, 3, 4 says shared interpersonal knowledge. Interpersonal, line 4. Okay, line 4 of interpersonal, page 6. Shared interpersonal knowledge is knowledge acquired through previous verbal interactions. Between what I said earlier and what you said earlier, we have got a shared kind of knowledge, okay? It is interpersonal. Or joint activities and experiences. We work together, we are together, etc., because of joint activities that we have, we know each other, okay? So it's a kind of culture between two guys, not culture between all people, okay? It's a kind of knowledge that I have from you, and a kind of knowledge you have got from me. It's a kind of interpersonal, okay? So let us see. And it includes privileged personal knowledge about the interlocutor. Again, the word interlocutor is repeated on page 6 as well. We talked about it on page 5. So there was a US television advertisement, the last paragraph, that featured a telephone dialogue like this. Between her and him, between husband and wife, between wife and husband, between two people. How are you? Him says, okay. Did you have friends in and get a video last night? Him answers on page 7. Oh, I had friends in, but we just watched a little TV. Okay. Right. Him. That was great. How do you feel? Okay. So you see that they know each other. They are talking about something that me and you don't know, but they actually know about each other. You are a husband. You are a husband. You know your wife. When there is a kind of conversation between you and your wife, you actually know something, but actually others have to understand what you are going to talk, what you are talking about, etc. Okay? Or if you are a wife, the same thing happens to you. Okay? Or between you and your father, between you and your mother. Okay? It's like interpersonal. So I suppose I have to stop somewhere around page 7, referring to the context, which is type 3. Type 3. Type 1 was back on page 4, which was a situational context. Type 2 was page 5, and it was background knowledge context. And title 3 is referring to context that it requires a special attention, because we are going to talk about referring expressions, exaphoric, endophoric, which I'm going to in fact talk about in my next presentation. So for now, we talked about page 3, 4, 5, 6, and part of page 7, which was like this. We talked about context, outside text, and below page 3, we said there are three types, and at the beginning of page 4, we talked about type 1, which was situational context, and at the beginning of page 5, somehow at the beginning of page 5, we talked about type B, and finally, page 7 talks about referring to context, which is more important than the previous ones. We are going to talk about pronouns and things that are actually part of the study of our knowledge of language. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to continue with my with referring to context in my next presentation. Remember, page 7 has got several pieces of good vocabulary for you to know. Thank you very much. Good for now. Thank you. Goodbye.